We're on.
One, good morning. Happy Monday, July 8th. Today I'm super excited because I have my special guest and also a good friend of mine, Paul Silva. Here you
Hello.
go.
I almost choked there. Woo! Almost
So
choked on my
Paul,
coffee. That's how excited I am.
did you bring your coffee? I told all my guests to bring coffee, so I hope you brought
I
coffee.
brought coffee for
Okay,
real.
cheers to that.
Clink.
So, Paul is a very good friend of mine, and we met through the iPad coaching school program. And I called him one day. Well, actually, I text messaged him one day, and I was panicking. I said, "Paul, I need help. I'm panicking because this final exam is freaking me out." So he actually jumped on a call with me, and we spoke. And he actually was coaching me through that 30-minute session, and then I really found my peace, and he was really powerful. So ever since then, we've been kind of just connecting, and he's my follower. I follow him on Instagram and Facebook. So I brought up to him. I said, "Hey, Paul, would you like to come on to the show?" And I loved it. And he immediately said yes and absolutely. So let me give you a little intro about Paul. So Paul spent the last 25 years in hospitality industry as a chef. And that's how I got to know Paul too, because I remember the first message I sent to you was, "Paul, are you a chef?" And because that to me was like chef, coach. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it was a misconnection there. So it was shocking to me that he was a chef, and he's also a leader and culinary college professor. He's performed as a leader at many of the senior and executive level in the corporate environment, and he worked in world class hotels and attractions, and also fine dining and establishment, and many other avenue that's related to hospitality. And Paul has his own blog, and then his podcast, Buzzkill, and also now the Longing for Spirit is a new podcast that he just started. So he's been doing a lot of extensive years of topic on alcoholism. From what I understand from his story, he's a recovered alcoholic, and in his book, the book called The Longing for the Spirit is really a message for the faith and hope from beyond the bottle, which he talked about his journey as a recovered alcoholic. Yep. So today, Paul is actually a transition coach who help people from going from point A to point B with clarity and confidence. He lives with his family in Toronto, and you can find him on his website, paulsilvacoaching.com, or Instagram at Paul Silva Coaching, or on Facebook at Paul Silva Coaching. So please join me and welcome Paul Silva.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you. So lovely. Thank you for that warm introduction.
Did I miss anything? I feel like there's something is missing.
No, I don't know. Is there? I can't. We have a dachshund. Maybe we missed talking about the dachshund. His name is Bean. Yeah, his name is Bean.
Bean, like B-E-A-N?
Yeah, B-E-A-N. He's an old man of a dog. So that's it. Other than that, I think we got everything.
Cool. Okay, so tell me about your story. Tell me more. I actually went out to the bookstore and I bought the book.
Oh,
I love the cover. I really love the cover. And it's if you turn to the back of the book, there's a little kind of like a floating things, and if you open the whole entire book, you're swimming in the ocean, and that is a lifesaver. And I really like the cover because I think that's what Paul really resembles as a life-saving vest or a floaty for someone who's like kind of just out there on the sea and swimming and almost drowning. And there's that moment of someone throwing a floaty to you and then say, "You know what? Here it is." You can either use it, grab it, or you can just keep sinking and drowning. So I really love that cover, and I went in. As soon as I found out that Paul wrote the book, I'm like, "Oh, I need to get it." So
thank you.
It's a great book. I love the story, and it's very encouraging and inspiring. And I can kind of see why you called it "Longing for the Spirit." And one of the message that you have wrote. This is just me talking now. I shouldn't be doing all the talking.
No, you're doing a great job. More time for me to drink my coffee. Go ahead.
But one of the message from the book, one of passage from the book was, I'm just gonna share that with everyone. There was always that duality involved because there was the unfailing sense that there was still something worth salvaging in the smoldering dumpster fire I call my life. I thought what resonated with me really a lot is that a lot of time I feel like many people, we wake up every morning and we just kind of feel like there's no hope and everything is a chaos. We don't know, there's no sense of direction, but yet there's something that's inside of us that's telling me or telling everybody that there has to be something more, just a little more. And that passage really was speaking to me a lot in that sense. Mm-hmm. What was your thinking when you wrote that?
Well, before I start that, I noticed I got these sticky thingies in here too. So I just want to share that with you. We've got that. I think with, the book really talks about recovery through kind of the lens of spirituality and mindset, because a lot of this is, it's not what we call a drunkalog. It's not a story after story of me stumbling around doing stuff. There's enough of those out there. And my interest, and this is what got me into coaching, my interest is really more about what was underneath, right? Mm-hmm. So sort of like the cover where, the light is going through breaking through the surface. It's like what's underneath, because everyone's circumstances, and in life in general, doesn't have to be recovery. Our circumstances may be very similar, but a lot of time, or they can be, the inner part is similar, but the external circumstance could be very different. But everything comes down to, like, fear and self-doubt and all these kind of things. So with that passage, it was, talking about that duality between, higher self and lower self, and what I call lower self. So higher self is more authentic, who we were created to be, the one that we lose touch with a lot. As we go throughout our lives, and listening to the stories in our head, and listening to all those kind of, the fears and all thing that and tacking onto the resentments and all that. But there's that part of us that holds on to a different light, holds on to a different part of us. For someone who's in despair of any kind, that feeling inside, that thought, that knowing that there's something better for you, for me coming into recovery, that was my first real authentic act of self-love. Because my higher self was like, you deserve better. People need to have you. Don't rob people of you. And again, this can go to anyone who's feeling in a place where they're at a very low energy. But there's that little spark, right? It's that little thing that there's something out there for you, but it's almost, there's a fear to attach to it. It seems like too far ahead. So I think in terms of that passage, that it was probably that, that struggle, that friction that we have between what we're tolerating right now and where we could be.
And at what point would you say that really inspired you to become doing the things that you do as a coach now? What inspired you to become a coach and helping others?
I was a chef for all those years, and I got the burn marks to prove it if anyone wants to come down here. I had taught at college, as you had mentioned, and greatest things, joys in my job was mentoring, and not only staff, but new leaders, because I was at a 2 levels of management also below me. That was really what excited me. And in the years of working with people in recovery, sponsoring people and guiding them through things. So I was already doing this kind of work. I was already doing a lot of the inner work with others and helping them rise and get attached more to that authentic self and just in their skill sets and stuff. So I was already doing this at a but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when it came time when I started to lose the passion for my industry, I wasn't sure where I wanted to go, but it was right there in front of me all along.
Yeah.
And that is helping others, reflecting to them what it is that they couldn't see necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
and to help build them up. And that was spiritual and mental and all that kind of stuff. So it was really a continuation. It was really extracting that part out of all the other
Mm-hmm.
parts of my life until then, and then kind of holding it as like, okay, here's the core of it. And that's really what got me into coaching. And that still excites me. It still gets me jazzed up when I see people making great changes in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think what's really mystery or magical is that a lot of times the universe just lay out our path right along, but
Mm-hmm.
they keep sending us sign and signals like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe you need to look in this direction, and hey, this is what you're doing, but this is what my ultimate goal and ultimate purpose for you. But we were so busy, and I think it goes back to that noise inside, that little voice that we talked about earlier, that little noise that just keep distracting us from the path that we ought to be on.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that we all have that voice in our head, what does your voice usually? What does the voice in your head usually tell you?
We can go on. The voice sometimes it tells me, like, it asks me, like, are you wearing pants? And I'll tell you why I say I'm approaching 50. And yesterday I left the house, and this has happened many times, and I get about 100 meters from my house, and I'd have to look down like, oh yeah, I'm wearing pants. So I just want to make sure that I'm covered. So my voice can be helpful. It'll say, are you properly clothed, or will you be arrested? But the other voice, I mean, the voice, it's the thing that so many of us hear, right? It's the, I'm not good enough. And boy, that comes up in so many ways, in so many guys. It's like whack-a-mole, right? I think you've got it, it pops up somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that comes up for me. I'm not immune to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that can come up in fear or jealousy. It can come up in envy. It can come up in all sorts of ways. Make busy work, like all that stuff. So it's so universal. Who do you think you are? You can't do that. And so it's funny. I just had another coffee. In life, real life, face-to-face coffee meeting, and I was talking about that exact same thing. And I was talking to her, and it's just insidious, how that can come up. But as we all know, as you know, I mean, these kind of voices, they were there originally to protect us, to keep us from harm's way. And as we've changed, that voice has remained there to keep us safe still, but it no longer serves us. So recognizing that when that voice comes up, it's really about interrupting it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I say is like, thank you very much for sharing, and let it and dismiss it. Just like, if a fly is in front of your face, to just kind of swat it and not give it any energy. And so that's how I have been able to work with that. But for sure, when that voice comes up, sometimes it's like a bubble bath. You want to sit and luxuriate in that and just kind of like sit there and, eat popcorn or, whatever it is. And so it's really that process and that recognition of moving away from that, because it didn't serve me. And that was one reason why, the drinking and everything for so many years, because I self-medicated that thought. And so now, since that's off the menu, so to speak, it's now creating other ways, healthy ways to push that to the side and just kind of let the higher self, move through me and throughout me. So that's really what that says.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really interesting how many of us, have that duality, that voice in our head keep telling me, oh, are you wearing pants? Are you wearing clothes? Are you covering yourself properly? And all of that, I think at one point, I didn't realize that was not me. And that was not my voice. And I think for me, it was really challenging to come to terms with that duality. There's one person, me physically as a person, and there's also a higher self, like you said, higher
Mm-hmm.
coach,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a lot more than just that voice that you have in your head. So I think for me, initially, to finding and discovering that there's a duality and there's actually a difference between, you know, what I'm telling myself versus what I'm really telling myself, that was really shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, what part was shocking to you?
I think what's shocking was that I finally can come into the driver's seat. It was the first time in my life, rather than having the voice ruling me, I was able to, you know, take over the driver's seat and then start driving.
Yeah.
For a long time, for me, it was just kind of, well, you mentioned alcohol. For a long time, kind of for me, it was just a sense of not knowing who I am and not knowing what I need to do, what my purpose was. So I was lost. And with that loss, I start looking for like ways to become someone else I am not. So I rely on social media. I was scrolling picture. Oh, that person looks really pretty. That person looks really nice. I was doing all that. And that in a way is also addiction, because we're so relying on doing social media, watching people on Facebook, things like that. So me taking over the driver's seat, it was like, you know what? I stood up. I quit alcohol. I got into rehab, and I was doing all that, the same journey that you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that sounds amazing. And recognizing that you were seeking something with outside of yourself, that is only something that can be sort of developed from within, right? So we tend to look at outside things, whether it's a substance, a behavior, you know, people. You know, people use relationships sometimes to get that to fill that need, that hole. And then they realize pretty quickly that it's insatiable.
Yeah. I have a question. So then,
You know what? What's that?
Are you wearing pants? I'm just kidding.
I'm wearing pants. Yes. I checked before. Luckily, we're from here up, just in case I wasn't.
Okay. I just wanted to check in with you to make sure that you are wearing pants.
We talk. There's one thing. Expression is. That's so kind of you. I'm glad it's this way that they're sartorially taking care of.
Of course. I need to make sure they're all
enough. What's that?
I need to make sure they're all comfortable. You know, they're making themselves at home.
Very comfortable.
Yeah. So my next question to you is, as a coach, what message would you like to send to the world?
To the world? That's a lot of people. That's, you know,
so we're actually shared by many people around the world. You're in Toronto, I'm in California, so we're talking about across the border here. You know, once you cross the border, that's a different world. So
California is lovely. That's one of my favorite states, actually.
Yeah, you came visit a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was there not too long in LA. It's the first time, and I didn't think I'd like LA because I was just going on what I'd seen and all, but it was lovely. I loved LA. Now I can see why people go there, and you know, San Francisco is one of my favorite cities ever. So, so the message you're asking about, what I send out, I mean, my intentions, you know, I don't know how my actions and words land with people. That I don't know. My intentions, of course, are to be of service and to, you know, spread the message of kind of hope that we all have, that we can get to that place where we want to be. But as a coach, I mean, the thing is, as you know, you mentioned, like, we're a mirror, you know, we're a mirror to people. And so when I'm coaching, it's not so much what am I necessarily intending to communicate. A lot of that really is spirit, believe it or not. It's, you know, it's listening to intuition. And so it's holding clients, holding their agenda, holding all that stuff, and really just being there, locked in with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's my intention is there to help them and to and give them the tools to grow and give them that space to do it. And for myself, all those years, I was a chameleon in many ways. I could blend into anyone and any, like wherever I was surrounded, like I would blend in, and I didn't have that sense of self because I was so muddled. I was so lost.
Yeah.
And so it's nice now to have, as a coach and just as just a human being in general, just have those intentions of just, to help others grow, to help them achieve what they want to do, and also to take care of myself, self-care. And so, in the manner that I work with people, I do use a lot of intuition. There is, I'm not hit you over the head kind of person, but I really give people the space, and to really kind of give them the tools just so they can do it themselves. And so, it's a kinder, gentler, kind of way, kind of an energy that I have. And that's because that's what people have said. And so I take my cues from that, and I pick up my cues from whoever it is that I'm in front of. And so so the intention is just to stay with them, right? Just to stay with that and stay with them and nothing else, and not impose my ideas, unless it's a consulting kind of way, or if it's something that I suggest that they're okay with. Other than that, it's really just staying with them and just staying connected with this. So that's really where I come from.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm hearing is, you really partner up with, the people that you're helping with, and also just kind of feel connected with them so that they are not doing it alone, and rather having a friend, kind of almost like a friend, to just kind of guide there along the way, along the journey. And that you do it from what's inside. And I love how you mentioned that what you do from the inside, because also in the book, you have mentioned something about, you can't really give love unless you have love. So I thought that was a really beautiful, beautiful paragraph where you talk about, you were looking back into that whole journey, and you felt like, if I was to hate myself, of course, I'm going to hate everyone else. And so without love, you can't really love anyone else. And I think being as a coach, that strong message about partnership, about helping them and guiding them so that they can find their own answers from within. And I think that's really strong, and it's really something a lot of people can really benefit from it. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. And it's really because that's the lens that I was looking at everything, because I was looking at it through myself. So a lot of people in recovery and et cetera, there's a lot of self-loathing, right? And so if I'm loathing myself, there's no way I can not see that in others, because it's a reflection of me. So if I'm just hating on myself, maybe not hate other people, but I'm really not going to be able to connect with them. I'm going to see the negatives. I'm going to see the downside in everything. And that was the pair of glasses I was, walking around with. And it was not until I found true self-forgiveness, and I write that in the book. It was one of my first blog posts, and that was the first, thing that I want in the book. Is called The Place Where I Met Myself. And that was really about self-forgiveness. And when I was on a bench and I was riding home, and I just got pulled to sit down on this bench that was nearby. It was late. I was coming back from, a chef gig, and I sat there, and all of a sudden I just started weeping, and I had this connection. I could hear, this. I was having this conversation with higher self, and it was just like this moment of like, you're forgiven. You're forgiven, because I was holding, even though I had been sober for a bit, I was holding on to this rock, and this on my shoulders. And when I finally found self-forgiveness, everything changed. And I was able to just let go of so many things, because I was able to forgive myself. And so in that vein, I can see, just the power of letting go, and the power of resentments, how they can really drag you down. So it's how I feel about myself is a reflection and sort of what I see in others. And so that was key. That was so important. I couldn't be doing the work I'm doing now if I hadn't gotten to that point, that place of, really cracking open that and getting the self-forgiveness taken care of. Yeah. And that just really blossoms outward. And so it is about how we see ourselves. And that's why we do a lot of inner work, right? Yeah. That's why we do a lot of self-reflection and all sorts of work that we do, so that we can only, as coaches, we can only take our clients as far as we are ourselves. Mm-hmm. So the further that we can open up ourselves and really do the work and feel what it's like, then we can take our clients and friends and family, whatever it is, we can take them higher. But we're only limited by what we know. Yeah. And so it's like a math teacher, right? If they don't know calculus, they won't be able to take their students into the calculus or algebra. You have to know, you have to have experienced it and to be there. Yeah. And it's really about getting in touch with this. Mm-hmm. And then, that's where everything just goes, exudes from.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love the fact that, you describe it as, there has to be a crack within, and then all of a sudden things just different. Things just show up differently, and we're looking at things differently. And having that crack, and I remember there's a quote, I can't remember, I think it was Hemingway, I could be wrong. In order for the light to come through, there has to be a crack, there has to be a break. And, for many of us, it's not, for you, it could be recovery from the alcoholic, but for me, it's more physical. But for someone else, it could be as small as, picking up a new habit or going to the gym. At some point in our life, or something that we're looking for a change, that is where the crack happened.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we're describing how you have this transformation of view about the whole perspective and about the whole world, and about yourself and also those people around you, what would you say, how would you describe your future in just 3 words?
My future. I what came up for me when I was thinking of, future is abundance, creativity, and serenity. And so abundance, this talks about all the things that we've been talking about, just, not coming from a place of lack, knowing that there's enough for all of us out there. Mm-hmm. And, when we're coming from a place of lack or scarcity, we're holding on to things. Yeah. And so when we come from abundance, whether it's, financial or emotional, whatever, there's more than enough. Mm-hmm. And so that's there. So I, love to come from is a place of abundance, creativity. And I don't necessarily mean like the drawings you do, which are awesome. I couldn't draw a straight line with a ruler. So it's not that, but the creativity in terms of, how are we, sounds very coachy. How are we designing our life? But it's really about how are we moving through our life? What are our plans? What are we doing? We can be very, very creative in how we move about our life, what we're doing, who we're with. There's we are meant to be creative. We are creator, and therefore we create. And it's in everything we do, we're creating. And so for me, that's how I see my future, just a continuation of that and just a building up on that. Mm-hmm. And then serenity really is about, contentedness, just knowing that everything is as is for a reason. Everything is taken care of. I still have to take the actions. I still have to do the things I need to do, but just really being in that place where you just know it's all good, and not stressing about the little things, and just really, I feel like I've been getting there, but I can see just really to that place, there's some people, in your life that you meet them and there's just an energy about them. You just feel like you're just, you're in the midst of someone who's really kind of chill, for lack of a better word. And that's the kind of, and I've been in the presence of those people. You just feel just everything kind of wash away. And I'd love to be there. And that's something I know I can be. And again, that helps with everyone around me. So it's not just for me. It's just being able to help others, and that includes clients and people in my life, that they can feel that it's a touchstone to that energy, that we're not frenetic and crazy. We can just really be chill and be in ourselves and know that it's all good.
Mm-hmm. I love those. Abundance, creativity, and serenity. I can see already, like, so much power and energy that's coming out from you. And I know you're gonna do like a lot of amazing things with your podcast, with your book, and with your coaching. And Paul is just really very giving. Like if you're one of our IPAC alumni, you probably know. If you're not on our community Facebook, Paul is always out there and making comments, suggestions, and helping people. And he helped me. He actually jumped in and gave me a call and then said, you know what, let's jump on a call. Don't worry about the cost. I'm not going to charge you. And it was something. He just wanted to. He just show up and he just want to help. And I can see that about the words that he's using: abundance, creativity, and serenity. And that's who he is, actually. I don't know if you realize or not, all these words that you've been describing are actually who you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're very creative. Your serenity, it's like I'm in your presence and I feel really calm. And that abundance, I can just see you, how you're willing to share with everybody and just embracing everyone as one. And that to me is just very beautiful. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with a few minutes left, what would you like to, I know, right?
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, we've been talking for forever. I think what really held us back was are you wearing pants? That part.
Yeah, that's very. If anyone gets anything out of that today, is just really check before you go on. Especially us guys. You just, now I understand why they have full-length mirrors by the door.
Yeah.
So when you pass by, you can just like, okay, got everything. Check.
I got it. Yeah.
Got it.
So tell us about your next step. What is your next step that you're working on?
Okay, so as you mentioned, the book, The Longing for the Spirit. So that's been out for about 1.5 years now. As you mentioned, thank you kindly. I have a recovery podcast. It's called Buzzkill, and it's buzzkill.com, and that and 52 episodes now where I've been talking about recovery stuff, but it's sort of an extension of the book. But I do have a new podcast that has the same name of the book, Longing for the Spirit, the podcast. But it really is more mindset. It is, it's the difference is between that and the other stuff is that it's a lot of information. So there's tips and techniques. There's always a giveaway in terms of a PDF. I've got some guests lined up now, and they're going to be talking about very specific things. So each episode will have a specific topic. So I've done intuition already. I've done confidence. Coming up will be honesty. So all basically, if you get a list of values, I'm basically be hitting a lot of those. And so with this special, with special guests and all that, helping really short, concise, but lots of information, lots of takeaways. And so I think that's something that's a bit different. I have my one-on-one coaching, as you mentioned, and I also have a group coaching program that I'll be working on, and that is going to be for people in addiction recovery. And so that's, maybe August, September, looking for that. And constantly, I don't know what else is coming down the pipe. I have ideas galore. I have 24 hours in the day. I need like 36. So I'm trying to, but I mean, those keep me busy enough. But definitely, the coaching, the passion, the creativity, it's all there. So it's really just marrying all these things together. And I'd like to see another book down the line. And I don't know, ask me in a month from now, I might have different answers. I don't know what's going on.
Invite you a month away from today, and then so you can come back and talk about your new stuff. And again, again, you're very creative, and all the stuff that you're doing, it sounds really, really amazing. And the other day, I was listening to your Buzzkill, and I couldn't stop laughing because the whole podcast, there's a lot of information, but at the same time, Paul has a really great sense of humor. So throughout the podcast, you hear him talking and laughing, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to laugh with you. So
lots of sound effects.
it's amazing, and there's a lot of sound effect, yes, and so you guys need to check him out on Longing for the Spirit, which is a new podcast that has tons of information, and they're top designed by topics, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. Now tell us where we can find you. I mean, you're in Toronto, I know that, but my
in
audience.
Toronto, yeah. We're so in terms of the websites and all that kind of thing. Is you have pen and paper ready ever? My main site, if there's only one site, is www.paulsilvacoaching.com. And in there, I'm going to be reworking it, but there are going to be links to the podcast. There's also buzzkillpod.com. That's that. And anything for, the book is www.longingforthespirit.com. And that covers both the book and the podcast. Mm-hmm. And then there's links galore. So those are the three main places. I am quite active on Facebook and Instagram, as you'd mentioned. I also do, Facebook and Instagram. And I also do LinkedIn, Pinterest. I'm kind of all over. But those are my main damies. And you can catch me there. And, if anyone wants to email me or anything, I'm pretty quick on the turnaround. So if any questions, comments, or curious about the coaching, by all means, shoot me a message. I'm good.
Yep. He's a great coach. I people who's looking for a transition coach, make sure you keep Paul in your mind because he is amazing, very powerful. I had like a firsthand experience when I called him on that panicking final exam moment. And
you did great. You did awesome.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you, with you calming me and guiding me and, just letting me, creating that space for me to just kind of let it go. And it was really great. Really, really great.
Oh, good. It all worked out. Look at you now. Doing this show, speaking of creative, and you're not short in that department. So you've done really well. It's been fun watching you. And I know you are going to do amazing things too.
Thank you. I only learn from the best. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great, wonderful day. And
my pleasure.
Do a lot of amazing things, and I will catch you on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Thank you so much, Michelle. It was a pleasure. Thank you again.
Bye.
Ciao.